Okay, so here we are attempting to do the actual homework. There are two shapes. The red is an L shape looking thing. The shape B is a purple shape. I don't even know how to describe that. But if I can't find the area of the shapes we see here, one of the strategies we have is that we can make these into more familiar shapes. And so this L shape here, if I cut it right along there, I end up making a 2 by 3 rectangle, which has a area of 6 square units, and I have a 4 by 2 rectangle, which has an area of 8 square units. And if I added the 6 and the 8 together, I get a total of 14 square units for shape A. For shape B, if I cut it right along there, I'm going to have a 4 by 3, which is 12 square units there. And this top part is going to have 3 square units, so a 3 by 1, which is a total of 15 square units. So I'm hoping that you see that definitely shape B has the greater area, and then I'm going to need to explain my thinking. Like 14 is less than 15, but you need to type in something. You can actually record your voice if you have a problem typing in the characters or anything like that ever. You can just upload your audio and explain your thinking. But then I'm going to hit submit and then next. So again, I've got a shape that I might not recognize as being a shape that's got a name. So I'm going to probably cut this one up right along there. I end up with a 4 by 3 rectangle. 4 by 3 would be 12 square units. And down here, I've got a 6 by 2, which is also 12 square units, for a total of 24 square units. So determine the area of that shape. Just type in 24. It already says square units. And then I'm going to hit submit and explain. And I did a 4 by 3 rectangle equals 12. And a 6 by 2 rectangle equals 12. And 12 plus 12 equals 24. Something along those lines. And again, here, if you needed to, you could definitely do the audio recording. If you need any special symbols, there's a math type. But I hit submit and I hit next. So didn't we just do this shape? Show or describe another way. So there is a secondary way. The secondary way is if I do a big rectangle encompassing the whole thing, kind of like if this was a birthday present and you were wrapping a birthday present, and so you put the paper down. In this case, that made a 6 by 5 rectangle, a 6 along the bottom, 5 along the side. 6 times 5 would give you 30 square units. But then I have a 1 by 3 on one side and a 1 by 3, kind of like the ears. And I would subtract 3, I would subtract 3, which is the same as subtracting 6. I get that there's 24 square units. So how would I do that? And then you would want to type that up, like making a bigger shape, however you did it. Make a bigger shape, then subtract off the extra pieces. And I hit submit, and I hit next. What? It says the same picture again, and it says show or describe how you could change this shape so that it has an area of 26 square units. Well, right now we know that it's got 24 because we've done that two different ways. So how do I make 26? I could just add two extra blocks anywhere. I'm going to put it on the bottom so it looks like a giant nose. I could put a block here and a block there. You're just going to add two extra blocks anywhere you want, and it's going to make 26. And then you would describe that in your own words and hit submit. Then I go to number 5. It says draw 3 different quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals meaning four-sided figure, each with an area of 12 units. Well, there's lots of different quadrilaterals. The easiest four-sided shape I can think of is probably a square, but 12 doesn't make a nice square, but it does make some nice rectangles. I could probably do a 12 by 1, There is a line tool, so I don't have to freehand draw this, but that would be, yeah, let's do that. Oops. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I can do a 12 by 1. That would be an area of 12. I could do a 2 by, or well, a 6 by 2. 6 times 2 is 12. I can do a 4 by 3. Oops. I keep trying to do it too many at once. I can do a 4, a 3 by 4. I can do the reverses of all of these. And so there's lots of different ways you can do. Other quadrilaterals would be like parallelograms. But again, you just want different ways of making 12. And so it's not letting me draw. 12 by 1 or a 1 by 12, a 2 by 6, and a 3 by 4. Lots of different ways to make these. 6 by 2, 4 by 3, any way you want to do it. I think I got these labeled wrong, but we're good. And so then I go to the next. The last problem, problem 6, which one has the greater shape? Well, the first is a red square that's 5 by 5. 5 by 5 would be 25 there. And now this is a little tricky because I'm going to cut this little shape off of one side, and I'm going to move it around to the other side. And I end up with a 5 by 5, which is 25. So they have the same exact area, and I would explain something along the lines of how I did it. But 25 definitely equals 25, and I hit submit. When I go to the next one, oh, it's a spiral review. This one has 7 problems broken up. I think on the textbook it does this as problem number 6. Select all the numbers that are equivalent to 12. Well, 3 times 4, 4 times 3 is definitely 12. But 2 plus 6 is 8. That is definitely not it. 24 times 1/2 is 12, half of 24. But 24 times 2 is 48. Here is kind of a tricky one. You got to know your orders of operation. 4 times 2 has to go first. That's 8. Plus 4 is 12. So I've got that basically A, C, and E are there, and there's room to work them out if you need to. When I go to the last page, let's see. It says number 1 is correct, number 2 is correct, 3, 4, and 5 have been completed. And then 6 is correct, 7 correct. If you get any of these wrong, please go back and fix them if you have time. But each night, I'm only expecting you to do this for 10 minutes. And if it's been 10 minutes, then just hit hand in. And if you hit hand in, you will get credit. Finished your activity, I'm done. And then the hamster comes out, and we're done. And I'll see you in the next video.